Welcome to Dare to Innovate. I'm Andrew Taylor. I'm here today with Amanda Harrington, our Director of Product Management, and Nicola Whiting, our Vice President and General Manager for our Endeavor business unit. Thank you guys both for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time. Last time we discussed mobile trends, and we just began to touch a little bit on security. It's such an important part of an overall program that I wanted to dive in a little bit deeper as we think about how security is evolving within the mobile program, within the mobile environment. So let's start off with the pendulum that's ever swinging within security. That's obviously front of mind. We hear of a security breach that happens daily now. And the mobile endpoint is something that is less controllable than a lot of other assets that happen across the board. So Amanda, let's start with you, thinking about how work has changed and where people work from and how security needs to evolve with that. So Amanda, if we could start with you.
Yeah, so we're talking about work from home, like you said, the flexible work models, that whole work-life balance and all of the other buzzwords that we are sick and tired of hearing about. But really what it means in the mobility world and in the security mobility world is making sure that you're able to have an experience where your work and your life can be done in the same place, around the same time. We're working, all the time, 24/7. We're constantly connected. So we need security 24/7. There's blurred lines between when work starts and stops. And it, again, like I said, it kind of never really stops. So being able to have devices that you are able to work and play from, like especially a mobile phone, you need to be able to containerize your private life from your from your work life. And so it's important to have automatic updates for security. Mobile VPNs need to be available for both phone, but also for laptops as well. And then, like I said, containerizing and making sure that the whole thing and the whole experience of keeping everything secure is user focused. So making sure that all of these updates are happening during off hours and that it's not disrupting the work day. And then always being connected. So making sure that you are connected and secure and able to work and be productive. I would say that those are really important things in the new way of working that have to do with security.
So let's unpack that a little bit, because there are a lot of very important pieces that we talked about there. And one of them I'll bring out in security is always, if a CISO had their way, there would be absolute security. Security is the only thing that matters, but the employee experience also matters. So, Nicola, the employee experience isn't just once I have the device. It is taking security into account across the board. Whether I'm ordering a new one and making sure that it's seamless to the end user, there's not a lot of work that they have to go do. We've talked a lot about mobility programs and some of the other things that we've done around Dare to Innovate. So talk to me about how security plays into an overall program and how you think about that through the journey of a device, of a SIM, of an employee within that. Nicola.
I think security, at its foundation, allows you to give your employees choices. So, for example, does it need to be a corporately owned physical asset? No, it doesn't. If you've got the right security program in place, you can do BYOD. You can leverage the functionality of dual SIM devices. You can leverage hybrid models if you have the right security spectrum in place. So first of all, it does influence the overall journey that an employee can go on, and how quickly you can get an employee up and running is also determined by your security program. So if it's simple to deploy, if it's a single event deployment, it's done either preloaded as part of their device onboarding, or it is pushed out to them at a certain point in their journey. You can expedite that journey to get an employee active, live, and actually productive which is probably the most important thing. Security should never be an enabler or a disabler rather, to prevent an employee from doing their job. It has to give the spectrum of flexibility, whilst giving the business what they need in terms of making sure their data is secure and protected. So for me, let it define your program, but don't let it be the only thing that defines your program. Let it drive your employees' ability to be flexible and have expedite their onboarding experience, and let it influence their ability to do their job day over day as well. And then I think let the employees understand the spectrum of the security that you're deploying. So let them understand the value that it brings to them, to some of the really important points that Amanda mentioned. So let them understand that it gives them work-life balance. Let them understand that it allows them to compartmentalise both their data and their corporate data. Let them understand all of those benefits, and they will be significantly more on board with adopting the security that the corporate environment is trying to deploy to them as well.
We've talked about a lot of different things across the mobility trends. And one of the consistent themes that we've heard is really about engaging the employee and having them have a good understanding of why and what is their role associated with that. And security is one of those most important things, because you need the employee to be the first line of defense and ensuring that they're doing that. Amanda, what's the best way that we've seen and across engaging the employees in an efficient manner?
So having the employees not just understanding the policies and procedures, but being a part of the policies and procedures. So, for example, doing training, whether that's regular training every 6 months, every year, making sure that they are up to date and understand what the policies are, what the security procedures are, what is in place that is protecting not only the company, but also them as employees and their own personal data. And so making them a part of it and giving them ownership, where it's not like a weight on their shoulders, but it's more like they are part of making sure that the data is protected, that they are protected, their devices are protected. And then also making sure that they are regularly understanding when updates are happening, whether they need to push an update off because maybe it's set to be done during an important meeting and they have to push it off a day, a week, a month, and understand and having them be a part of the process, of the security process. But also, I think that it's important in the enablement and the empowerment of employees to not make it seem like the security policy is like watching them and raining down on them and is super suffocating to them. It should be something that they are happily a part of and that they think is working for them and not against their productivity.
Yeah, I think that's, to summarize what you said in terms of the end, I think that's the most important thing is they are an active participant in it. It is not something that is happening to them. And the ways that you communicate that are consistent often, and ways that employees can gauge to understand that they are a part of the security to protect the organization and to protect themselves, as well as to ensure that it's not something that's watching them. It's something that's helping them. A part of that. Nicola, final question on this topic. Offboarding is critical when it comes to the security process, ensuring that that asset is taken care of at the end. How do you see that when it comes to the best programs that are run in the world? When an employee leaves the organization, when there's a change in the organization, what does offboarding look like? Because that's obviously where devices can get lost relatively quickly.
Yeah, and I think we've probably touched on this previously. Number one is having clear guidance for the employee and what our expectations are of them as part of that journey. Actually enabling the employees to self-serve wherever they can. So if they can actually do that remote wipe themselves, most of them would actually prefer to do that before they hand the device off to somebody. So enabling self-service, having clear guidelines around self-service. And then I think ultimately having a clear returns process. This is what I physically have to do to the device. This is where I return it and how I return it. I think there's also then that record keeping and inventory maintenance that sits alongside this. So did we get those devices back? And if we didn't, why not? Did we wipe them? Were we successful in the wipe, etc., etc.? So having the clean inventory, maintaining the inventory, knowing at any moment in time where your devices reside, where they are physically, and if you didn't get them back, that you've actually taken measures to make sure that they're still secured, even though they've maybe not been returned. Because, like, in a real practical sense, we never got 100% back. No organisation does. It's never a true sentence. So it's then about being able to leverage technology and software to still secure a device, even though it might not have been returned to you. It's actually really important if you think about it as well. It's not necessarily always just an offboarding process. It might be that we have identified services are no longer being used and we want to cancel those services with the vendor, but we don't know where they physically are. So we still need to deploy that wipe event. So we still need the security measures to kick in, even though we're maybe not going to return the device to stock. So I think it has multiple facilities. It's offboard an employee, it is clean your estate, it is maintain your inventory. They all come together to give you a holistic view of where you sit from a security footprint as well. And I think just one last thing to go back to something Amanda said is it's also about things like pushing updates, because a lot of the employees are actually very self-driven to push those updates themselves. They will take really proactive action. It's then figuring out the ones who haven't and having a mechanism to communicate to them as part of this process as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic because you'll have those that will, download the new version of iOS the minute it's available. And then you have those that are still on, iOS 10. And that's bad for a variety of different reasons, and making sure that you're following up and following through with all of those. Nicola and Amanda, thank you guys so much for joining me. This was a tremendous conversation, and looking forward to our next session here on Dare to Innovate. Thank you all.
Stay on top of the conversation. Like and subscribe to our channel to get notified when our newest episodes release. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Dare to Innovate.